Hey everybody, welcome to the 2025 Ask Me Anything. This is the special episode we're doing between seasons.
You say episode.
I think there's a chance it might be multiple episodes.
We-
The whole season break might be us answering questions.
I am happy to do that. We take a long time to answer single questions, and we got a fair few.
Yeah, we got a bunch of questions. What we'll probably do in terms of the structure of this is we'll be going question by question. We'll read out the question. We probably won't say the full name of who sent it because we haven't really cleared with everybody whether they want that on the show.
I know some people probably want to hear their names get said, and some people probably don't want their names to get said. I feel like opting on the side of privacy is better.
And in this case, we still get to read their question, so they definitely know it's there.
Exactly. And trust me, we read everything.
So we'll give just
Personally.
a single initial for each person as we go. But we're going to go, this might sound between questions a touch choppy because we're basically going to be stopping, finding the question, thinking the answer, and then recording the answer. But hey,
This is our mid-season break. We're allowed to.
yeah, we're allowed to. Okay, so
I was giving an example of choppy.
I just decided that's how you talk. We're going to have a look at the first question, and we're going to be right back. All right, first question from R.
Arr.
As someone who's fascinated with linguistics and localization, I'm wondering if you can recall any moments where being from a different place or culture, either as a player or game master, resulted in an aspect of an escape room becoming more or less difficult than it was intended to be. They have an example from us of a guest GM episode where there was a North American accent pun-based puzzle that didn't work for an Australian accent. And have you encountered a similar situation with a room you've done in real life?
So many times people just posting Reba-style puzzles, and we just cannot get them.
Yes.
Things like doing connections, doing like New York Times connections, New York Times strands. They don't have to be in escape room settings.
Connections pops up a lot where we'll usually solve the connection regardless because it's a puzzle, right? You can basically just do it like a jigsaw puzzle half the time if you don't know it.
But if we can't get it, it is often because of something exactly like that.
Yes. We'll look at them, we'll look at the answers to a connections quiz and just be like, oh, those 4 things, those are vague nouns. I reckon they're something, I reckon those are like American women's basketball teams, a thing that I know I don't know the list of. And then you go, yep, 100% it is.
Things like that, but even sometimes they are more sound-based ones. Like these are words that rhyme with.
Yes, they and you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
but they don't rhyme.
And we can't do it.
Can I point out for people the biggest thing that is like the biggest culprit for American accent confusing Australians in terms of rhymes is that you do an open A sound for the letter O. When there's an O, you make it an R.
Court.
Right? Yeah, I think technically
Cart?
Well, I think technically it's the father bother merger.
Oh my, that's
so they
a
say
different
father
one.
and bother. It bothers me
Yeah.
that my father didn't turn up because
I like that
and
you're
so-
doing the soft Australian R's in those, so it's a very
Sounds just
specific American
it's
accent.
but whereas we say bother and father, they're very different. And so that happens a lot. That's just a
does.
basic linguistic one, but that's, I think, the biggest culprit. Like, things that rhyme, you're like, oh, that should be an American O. And
One-
definitely isn't.
One that's less language based that I found fun was last year I needed you to melt a block of ice, and to do so involved grabbing some salt from the room, and
Oh,
you
yes.
weren't sure if that was going to be doable when we were
Yeah,
playtesting
I got very
it.
confused by it. I was like, salt, like, I get it. And then
And
we
I
had
went,
two...
a player, American Canadian, they're gonna get
Yeah,
this.
we had people from very cold climates in America, and they just went, "Oh, some ice. Let's grab some salt and mess it up straight away," because it was just a known thing to do.
As far as real world examples, typically they try to do a pretty good job of being uniform, but I can think of one very clear example
Ooh, what is
from
that?
an American room that we did.
Oh, in America somewhere.
Yes.
What was
It's
that?
one of the rooms in LA where we had to match specific items that had pictures on them to months of the year.
Oh, and it was seasonal.
Definitely very
And
seasonal.
also holiday-ish.
So, yeah, we had to, in our heads, immediately reverse all the seasons.
Yeah,
That
so
was
when
okay.
we see a snowman, we're like, well, first of all, we don't have snowmen here in Sydney anyway, but it was like, okay, snow, that's going to be the end of the year, not the middle of the year when
I'm
it's
reading.
cold.
I just finished reading a book, and it's set in Sydney. And it was actually really jarring to read on the first page that it was set in December, and they were really hot. And I said, "Oh, this is so pleasant. I haven't seen this in so long." But yeah, the biggest difficult one was seeing a hat. And I just looked at this
Was it a
picture
pilgrim's hat
and
in
I
the
was
end?
going, what is a top hat? I don't know what season a top hat
but
goes
no,
with.
It had a buckle,
It was
Danny.
a pilgrim's
It had a buckle.
hat,
If you put a buckle on your top hat, you're a pilgrim.
which meant that I had to work for, no, that's November, yeah? Yeah, that's November.
Yes.
That's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Thanksgiving.
So
is
that
November.
was a particularly brutal one.
Yeah, and like I think in escape rooms and puzzles, they're so often not concerned with trivia and trying to avoid outside knowledge that you don't run into these as much as like in a quiz context. Like so for a New York Times Connections or like watching
Absolutely.
Only Connect was our classic example
Oof.
of they would just give a list of random names and be like, well, these are the Lord Mayors of London from this year to this year, and it's like, okay, I was never
I
going to get
guess
that
that's
one.
a thing that
Right. Because,
trivia English people know.
Trivia, you end up with much more local cultural stuff.
Mm.
It's probably much rarer, but I do think there are examples of like this is a type of puzzle, and it's like, oh, we don't really do that type of puzzle as much. One thing that I think you can get is I think for a lot of Australian and British puzzle people, you can give a cryptic crossword clue a lot more comfortably than you can to American puzzle people because there's not as big a cryptic crossword culture in American like puzzle.
And I feel
world.
like people have different rules depending on who is setting them.
That is a thing as well. And when you get really into them, of like, oh, this is the British style one, so you're allowed to do this, which you're not allowed to do in American style one.
Yeah.
Or like it's just kind of the way the cultures have separated when it comes
Even-
to cryptic crosswords.
Even the fact that at the start of this I used the word rebus. The word rebus means different things to different
You're right.
people.
There's another term for a rebus that is not a rebus.
A picto what?
Picto words. Yeah, okay. Well, there you go. So that definitely comes up, not as glaringly obvious. Like, we occasionally, like our
Oh.
long-term one is saying torch and having American
Quite
guests
frankly,
go,
I
a
lean-
flaming brand.
Sometimes in my notes, if I think that I've gone a little bit too Australian, I'll write some translations if people want to use the notes. But when it comes to the recordings, I tend to lean into it and see what happens.
Yeah, it's more fun. But mostly I think it's okay. Now, we haven't done, like, some people will go and do, like, a lot of non-English or, like, English versions of ones that
proper
originally weren't.
translated rooms,
But especially
and things like that,
in
or multilingual
culturally
rooms.
different areas. Like there are people who like, go and do all the escape rooms in China or in Japan and Korea or Russia or like I've never done an African escape room
No.
or puzzle based experience. It may well be that we get there and they'll be like, it's this classic type of puzzle, and I'll go, I've never been to Kenya and I don't know what kind of puzzles you do. So we
This is
haven't really
true.
strayed outside of the kind of Western European
English
cultural
speaking,
context.
Yeah.
So there may well be types of puzzles that you find much more commonly that we haven't experienced. And hey, if that's true, write in and let us know if you're just like, oh, everybody
I'd be really
in
interested.
Korea is doing this weird disc dropping puzzle and everything's a version of this disc dropping puzzle. You mean Connect 4? No, it's very different. They Connect 5 in Korea. It's a whole crazy thing. All right. Thank you for the question, R. All right. Speaking of cultural differences,
Ooh.
this one is from Zed.
Ah. Though that one's fading. The American culture is seeping in
Of
very
more
hard.
young Australians are saying Z.
Oh yeah.
It's just because people keep saying Gen Z.
That's true. That must be hard for them.
I wonder how many young Australians just say Z, 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 Gen Z, 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 Z.
No.
I reckon kids our age would have, like we all said, Z, 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 Z,
Dragon Ball Z.
Z, Z, Z,
Good
Z,
point.
Z. So I don't know. I'm just saying.
I can tell you for a fact through maths tutoring that it is a lot of math and a lot of Z.
Oh, that's gross. Okay, where were we? So this is from Zed, and Zed is blind,
Mhm.
and so has some, a mix of some blind and some completely not blind based questions.
Oh, yeah.
Some are very just normal questions. It is mostly personal questions.
Okay.
So first of all,
I asked specifically for a wide variety of questions. I did not want them all to be intense escape room related.
well,
Definitely
here you go,
not.
Danny. This
Yep.
is not intense and escape room related.
Okay.
What's your zodiac sign?
Which kind of zodiac are we talking?
So this is the thing that I was thinking the same thing, right?
Mhm.
In a Western zodiac, I'm a Pisces and you are a
Libra.
Libra, which again, I'm not one of those people who's into a
I'm not an
horoscope. I'm
astronomy
not
person.
into a zodiac. I don't.
obviously, where you grow up, particularly when you grow up surrounded by girls and I want to say more like girly stuff.
Yeah, that's probably true.
You get to know what these sorts of things are a bit. And so I know a lot about what my star sign is supposed to be.
Mm.
And it has never felt in any way representative of me. They're meant to be like general enough that you can get something out of it. Not even a little
You're too
bit.
weird. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what a Pisces is meant to be like. Nor do I know like anyone else's zodiac sign. I will know when people are born and then be like, oh, so therefore you should know their zodiac. And I'm like, no, I don't know what comes after this, out of the other. So
I've memorized it because it's good trivia.
yeah, that's true. It's good to know. And then we also, and I don't know if there's as big a tradition of this in other places, but for us, at least people our age in Australia, where I feel like we have a fairly large kind of East Asian contingent in Australia.
Yeah, we would likely know
People
our
knew their
Chinese zodiac symbol.
Yeah, their Chinese zodiac symbols as well, or their Eastern zodiac symbols as well, based on their year.
Mm-hmm.
Although I will say, I don't know the element of mine.
Yes.
I don't think when I was young, people were that into knowing which cycle we were on.
No, definitely not as much. I've tried to, and I think I know which one I am now, but I need to double check.
Because I'm a ram/sheep.
Yeah. When is New Year? Because I feel like your birthday is early enough in the year that.
No, I'm afterwards.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
fine. So I'm a sheep or
You're a
ram, and
sheepy
you
boy.
must be.
Uh-huh.
Are you a horse?
Yes.
I know my brothers are a dragon and a rat, which, there's a clear winner there. I don't think I don't think this is culturally insensitive. I think everyone in a country that cares about the Eastern Zodiac is be like, oh, you're a rat? I'm a bloody dragon, idiot. Whoa, gotcha. Like, you're the rat. You're not feeling good about yourself.
I think I'm metal. I think.
Okay.
There was a question on lateral.
Do you know where it swaps over in terms of like what's the end of a zodiac cycle? What's the last animal in a cycle? Because don't they do a full cycle and then the element changes and there's another full cycle? So if you're metal, would I be metal? I'm assuming horse is not the end of a cycle.
No, I don't remember. I didn't pay enough attention. I want to say probably
what kind of
that's
cycle
true,
what kind of cycle would end on horse and start on sheep? You'd end on dragon, start on rat.
Yeah, see, that is another interesting point that typically I want to say for Western zodiac stuff, they start at Pisces is right near the end or something, or it's in a weird place. Like we don't start at the beginning of the calendar year. When I have memorized them, I do start at the beginning of the calendar year. So when they officially swap over, I have no idea.
Now, the thing that's silly in Australia about a Western zodiac is we don't have any of those constellations in our sky.
No, it's nonsense.
So they don't make any sense. There's no real application because, like, even if you're like, oh, you were born under this,
not that there ever was.
No, there never was. But even if there were,
especially in the southern hemisphere.
but we don't even have those constellations. And even there's an argument.
We should really do a full swap, a 6-month swap.
We should, but even there's an argument which I don't ascribe to of like, oh, but the time in the year that you're born will affect how you've developed and therefore change your personality, and therefore it's true. Even on the basis that if that were true. You'd have to swap them all and go 6 months ahead for that logic to still hold. So I'm not really a Pisces. If you're that kind of a zodiac person, I'm a whatever is 6 months, whatever's the opposite of a Pisces, a Gemini.
No,
a Jet Force Gemini.
Virgo, I think.
I'm a Virgo by seasonal zodiac standards. There we go. What was next question?
Okay.
Still from Zed.
Yep.
What is your favorite music album of all time? Are you much of an album listener?
Typically, no, and I never have been. Partly growing up as a kid who I wasn't very engaged with music that much, and I didn't have money. So,
that's fair. Do you know the first album you ever bought for yourself with your own money?
First album I ever bought for myself might have been Justin Timberlake's Justified.
I think mine was...
Oh, did I buy it out? No, I must have been given Avril Lavigne, Let Go.
I think mine was Tea for the Tillerman by Cat Stevens. It was just so outside. Like it was like 25 years old when I bought it.
What?
No, not the thing that's in like that album.
It was 25
like
years
that
old.
album is
Yeah.
No, not me. I bought an album first. I was probably like, I don't know. I was like 11. I think that was the first thing I
was 12
bought.
and I felt behind.
I remember one of the first, again, early albums owning. I remember having Avril Lavigne's debut album. I remember having Linkin Park's debut album. My recent favorite album was finally listening to "Hi, How Are You" by Daniel Johnson.
Oh, right.
Johnston. I
Oh,
can't remember if it's a team there. The absolutely wild
wildly
outsider
weird.
music stuff. I love that. That was great fun.
I know the first single that I ever bought
What was the first single you ever bought?
Britney Spears' "Not a Girl, Not Yet a Woman."
I'm not a girl, not yet a woman.
That's the one.
Yeah, that one.
So I didn't start listening to music really until outside of the Spice Girls until I was solidly 10, 11. What I did do at that point, I was big on soundtracks. I've always
That's
been
fair.
very soundtracky. I used to, when Return of the King came out, I got presumably the album for Christmas or thereabouts. I listened to it to fall asleep.
Nice.
So that was pretty great. Various musicals will do it.
Fun.
Like, always gonna. We can listen to the whole Hades Town soundtrack
Oh,
back
yeah.
and forth.
Yeah. Broadway, original Broadway cast recording of Hadestown. That's great.
Mm.
What are some other good albums, Danny? Mule Variations. No, I don't usually listen through all of Mule Variations.
This is the thing. I feel like I think this was another point that I very quickly
Nicky
realized.
Knack is a good album. That's an album a couple of years ago I got really into. Which is Tune Yards. That's a lovely album.
So I feel like I very quickly realized when I would buy albums that I was buying it for the 2 songs that I knew and then didn't care about the rest of the album that much. So I was paying $20 for 2 songs. That seemed outrageous at the
That's
time.
fair. Yeah.
So yeah, albums were never much my thing. We got some albums sitting up there
Bone
on
Machine.
our shelf.
I listened to a lot of growing up. I would listen to a lot of people because I was listening to a lot of music that was older rather than current. I could often be listening to the best of albums.
That's true.
Listen to
oh yeah, I listened to Best of Red Hot Chili Peppers for a chunk in high school.
But just I grew up a lot of the music I was listening to when I was younger was here's a compilation of all of every Beatles number one.
Best of Alice
Here's,
Cooper.
yeah,
That as well.
All the
definitely
the best
things
of
like that
Leonard
for
Cohen, the
Beatles.
best of Proclaimers Finest, all this kind of old folky stuff, and it was just yep, great. Listen, here's all their best stuff. So I wasn't big on. I bet Tom Waits. I listened to a lot of albums as albums.
Another big one that I listened to an awful lot of, and again, there were definitely some that I faded out of and wouldn't remember, but I would just sit and have it playing while I would go about my day. Just Best of Grieg.
Best of Grieg. Bit of Grieg, everybody.
It's Hall of the Mountain King all day long.
It's just one song, Hall of the Mountain King over it. That's the Best of Grieg. This is his best.
It is the best of Grieg.
We just did that one over and over and over again. What are other great albums, Danny? What about, did you listen to...
People have really strong feelings. When people are music people, they have really strong feelings about what makes a good album and being able to find the correct song ordering to create the right rises and falls and all of that stuff and trying to make them feel thematically connected. I feel like thematic connections in albums was never a thing that I was aware of growing up.
Maybe, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. That's
It just felt like, we've written 12 songs. Here's
they
12
are. Songs, yeah.
Oh my God, we're just going and releasing them in order.
Yeah. Is it and there's a difference as well, though, between
Sort of the way that I write escape room seasons.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But no, a lot of nice albums. There's a lot of good ones.
Basically, if we are going by any sort of objective measurements about what could make a good album,
who knows?
I've got nothing. I am wholly unqualified to do that.
That's fair. Oh, quick, wait, let's get, no, I can't be bothered listing fake ones that I don't care about for cred. Oh, clearly, Rubber Soul is the best Beatles album, and, no, I've got no real opinions. Okay, next, this is still the same question. Now, this is the blind part of the question.
Okay.
And also, it's for everybody else at home, pretty much, who hasn't seen a picture of us.
Uh-huh.
Can you describe each other's appearances so that they know how accurate their image of us is?
Others?
You describe me, Danny, and I'll describe you.
I once did this several years ago. I don't even remember if I was an adult or not quite an adult. Just sat in front of a mirror and described myself as if to what you would do to a police sketch artist.
Oh, fun.
Trying to be as straight up objective as possible.
That doesn't sound fun, but maybe it is.
It was calming.
Oh, nice.
It made you feel very normal and just no, I don't have anything that weird. There might be some things that I'm not happy with, but That's okay. What am I going to say? Oh, yeah, this person has a slightly too large nose, or a slightly larger than average nose, you might say, and things like that. And just go, yeah, that's nothing. Like, you would
Yeah, it's
describe
nice.
that and then move on.
Yeah, that's fun. That's a nice idea.
It really surprised me. I don't even remember why I was doing that. I must have seen something on TV. I think there was some beauty campaign ad of people doing that and being really down on themselves. And
It's got a stupid face, ugly,
I
dumb
don't-
hair.
I don't know what point they were trying to make. Use Dove products and we'll pretend that you're beautiful.
That's all. That's what it's all.
No matter how you describe yourself to us, I don't know
Even
what
you
they were going with.
uggos will be beautiful with Dove.
But yeah, I just I felt like doing it one day, and it was nice.
Nice. Well, what do we look like, Danny? I look like my mother. Does that help? Weirdly,
you used
and this
to
is
before
crazy.
the facial hair.
Weirdly, this is crazy. I look like if you took my mother and also my father and you stuck them together and made a new person. That's what I look like.
Your father from like the 80s or so,
Yeah.
more than now.
That's
funnily enough.
not quite when I was made, but close to. So
When he was your age. Actually, no, that would have been 90s, wouldn't it?
so anyway, I don't know what we look like. We look like people. I've got a moustache and also more facial hair underneath that.
Ridiculous.
But it is funny to think that I have a moustache because it is kind of weird. I got my hair at the moment is quite long, black or dark brown, but black hair.
Basically black.
It's basically black hair. It's currently long.
It goes a little bit curly when it gets long.
It's
but
been short. It's been as short
You go
as
back and
hair can
forth.
be, and it's been long it's been shoulder length. Right now, it's closer to shoulder length than anything else. And I've got glasses, big square glasses.
At the moment, they are big and square. They
and
have been
tiny,
round.
and tiny little eyes. Oh, they're so little. Oh, they're hiding behind the glasses. The little tiny eyes in my head. That's about it.
You have an adorable size nose. An adorable
I've got
shaped
my
nose.
my
He's
my
got
nose
a pixie
is
nose.
adorably. Really?
I mean, well, hold on. Some people would think of a pixie nose as pointy. Your nose isn't pointy.
I've got a normal face with normal qualities.
You got a cute nose.
And there you go. I don't think my face is very. I think it's a fairly narrow face. I feel.
Yeah, a little.
That's me.
When we were in high school, it was easy to get around describing you just saying the one that looks like Harry Potter.
That's true.
Because
I
your
look-
hair
I
was
look like-
shorter
a lot
but
like Harry
scruffy,
Potter.
and you had glasses
And I
that
didn't have
were
facial
more
hair.
round. Yes. And I appreciated that because I have some pretty gnarly level of prosopagnosia.
Yeah, I needed extra stuff on my face so Danny can know who I was.
I always knew that there was no chance that I could date someone who was just, I don't know, fair skin, short, medium brown hair, medium height, everything like that, because I would never be able to find them.
The kind of person that when you would talking to a police sketch artist, you'd be like, they just look like a guy. They just look like a guy. You know what a guy looks like? I look like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Hollywood movies can make me panic sometimes. There are a lot of main stars who look identical to each other.
Danny, how do you look? You've got currently long, getting blonder hair at the
so
ends.
strange.
Danny used to have quite blonde hair, and then it started going a bit brown.
It's distinctly, I am now, it's been a weird identity shift of saying, no, I am distinctly a brown-haired person now.
but
Never
now that
dyed
it's
it, it
looking
just
blonde
happened.
again. Yeah, I think I'd describe this as blonde hair. I don't think anyone would.
Wild.
I think just the length gives it more. So right now it's quite long. It's down to the middle of your chest sort of thing. It has been short. It has been quite short.
It is always messy. It is always knotty. I was away with my mum this weekend and she could not believe how much hair just pulled out onto my brush in one brush.
You've got very large eyes, large blue eyes. You've got prominent cheekbone.
I
cheek.
have the round, squishy cheeks. If you take just a picture of my face and can't see the rest of my body, you assume that I'm a big old chubby person.
You have a round face.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a
very
chubby
round.
face, but you've got a round face.
If you just see my face in isolation, it absolutely is chubby face.
Your
and that's
ears
fair.
are pointy?
I was chubby teen.
You have pointy elven ears.
I have one pointy ear.
And for people who look closely, you have kind of half eyebrows because you pick at them. They're better than they've been, but you used to pick at them a lot, and so you have half an eyebrow.
Yeah, in stress and writing and things, I do a lot of running my hands through my hair, and that includes my eyebrows.
And for people playing
they're
along
pretty
at
faint.
home, we're both incredibly beautiful.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
This is a great picture.
We're
that
trying to
put
be. We're
together.
trying not to be too weird because we are married and we do love each other and we do think we're very lovely. So I'm not getting into that.
What's my freckle level like on my face right now?
You got a good level of freckles. You
Used
got
to
across
be.
the bridge of your nose and
Yeah,
the top
I-
of your cheeks.
I was
A
generally-
classic smattering of freckles.
Yeah, I never had much in the way of freckles. I mean, I did have freckles on my forehead and stuff, but they've definitely faded a lot. But I've still got a good normal smattering of freckles. I was also an extremely acneous kid. So I definitely have like scars on my face.
Oh, and for people, just while we're here, just because it's really obvious, but we didn't mention it, we are both very white and very
Oh,
pale
yeah.
skinned. I figured maybe actually that's probably a
point.
relevant part of someone's
This is
visual
true.
look. So there you go. Where were we? That's the end of these questions, I think. So thank you.
I hope that was helpful.
I hope
those were useful descriptors.
I hope it wasn't too weird. Thanks, Zed. All right, we have another one from a different R than before.
Mhm.
What would you say your own weaknesses are when tackling a physical escape room? Are there any types of puzzles you instinctively steer clear of because they're just not your thing?
Well, I know that anything involving actually dialing things into combination
Oh, you are very
locks,
bad at putting a code into a lock.
It takes a while. Sometimes they just all spin together when you're only trying to spin one.
God, I don't know. I think escape rooms in general are pretty okay.
Look into a fair few of them.
I think it's very common for people not to be super comfortable with searching. I don't always trust myself with a search. Like,
Definitely
I
not.
think everybody should ask someone else to double check any searching they've done because you always miss something.
We did a search heavy room recently, and I checked things multiple times and still was missing the thing that was hidden inside them. Oh, it's outrageous.
But types of puzzle, I don't think there's any type of puzzle.
I'm definitely apprehensive about being the person who gets separated out. I feel I lean heavily into the cooperative team-based aspect of escape rooms. So when I am put in a situation where no, if you get this wrong, it's on you. It's just you personally, just you. Then I tend to not really want to be that person who is put in that situation.
What doesn't pop up very often in physical escape rooms, but a type of puzzle that pops up occasionally in life is like chess-based things about moving chess pieces and stuff. I always put those aside for some reason.
About that in Seventh Guest.
Which is, I don't know why. I just completely just stop. I just I can't be bothered moving these things around.
My one like that, I suppose, again, only seen it in handfuls of escape rooms, is memory-based puzzles.
Oh, that's fair.
I, especially under a time pressure, you don't really go for it, but I have always been stressed out by memory tests. I'm not terrible at them, depending on what sort they are, but that puts a certain stress on the brain that I don't find fun.
That's fair. I don't mind a memory puzzle too much, but it is that's an easy one to be like distinct in and of itself. It's like I don't enjoy that type of thing.
I think there are definitely some things that I wish that I were handling more. We're just talking about a general weakness in escape rooms, not a puzzle weakness. But I think a weakness that I have is when things tend to be a little bit more, one person in the team is going to volunteer for this, especially if it's a more physical thing. I will be more likely to sit back and let someone else tackle it under the assumption that they'll be able to do it better than me, which granted is how I treat a lot of physical tasks in real life. A lot of handiwork, a lot of cleaning. I will assume that I'm going to suck at it.
You hear this kind of what I have to deal with in this household. Yeah, no, I think in general, I can't think. There's nothing that comes to mind really of like this type of puzzle is not.
I've never found
slide puzzles are a classic that no one likes to do, but Danny can smash a slide puzzle.
I had to work. I practiced.
You specifically learned how to do slide
puzzles. I
puzzles.
practiced because I knew if I was ever going to go on Survivor, I would need it.
And I will say, anytime there's something approaching a slide puzzle in any room or puzzle game that we played, I just hand it over to Danny. I'm like, you can do this one. Go ahead, solve that.
And it sometimes still takes a while because they're hard, but I actively enjoy them. It is hard. I can't think of anything in an escape room that has been I will actively avoid this because I will not have fun if I do this.
That's
or
true.
I will not be able to do this. I can picture some ideas of things, just again, mostly based on video games and stuff like that, like based on Professor Layton puzzles, anything to do with here's a tangle of ropes. If you can only cut one, which one should you cut to free all of the ropes? I cannot visualize that. That's awful.
Oh, I love. I'm not good at visualizing it. Like I'm bad at that one, but I love a follow a part, like a rope through a little, like try and figure which one connects to the other one. I just really enjoy that. There's something very calming about following a thing, like it goes under here, over here. So okay, so okay, A connects to 7. All right, next. I just quite enjoy that for some reason. It's very good. How are we at the like one person knows where to go, the other person has to do it puzzles where you communicate? I think we're quite good at those.
I think they're fun. Even if it were, so I don't think that we're going to be the fastest people in the room, but I think we have fun with them. Like, we like playing Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
That's what I'll say. I don't like going quickly in an escape room. I've never, as soon as there's a pressure to go fast on a certain thing, I'm always not enjoying it. I'm always just, like, some people would be like, oh, let's do it. Oh, I got to try it. And they'll try it over and over again, trying to get it. I never enjoy that. And I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, typically.
All right, sure. Let's do this in a rush or something.
And anything, especially at the end of a room, if it is a cut the correct wire or you lose situation, anything that is a one and done pressure, I'm not too keen on. I don't think that's anything to do with puzzle type. If things get too,
I know that like I get easily overwhelmed by too much sensory input. So when there's stuff where it's like suddenly it's tense and this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, I will start to get more and more like, I don't want to do, or I can't think about this very well. Like, I like it when it's calmer and quieter and more pulled back. So when it's something that's deliberately kind of sensorily intense, I'm not so good at it.
I do have one that I will always defer to you on, because this isn't an, oh no, I'm not confident style thing. It is, I know that this is a weakness that I have, that you have an unbelievable
recognizing
strength
faces.
At. Yes, there is that. Listening to music and being able to replicate things or work with it.
Tell what I can't do? Smell. I hate smell stuff.
That's fair.
I have no trust in my sense of smell, to the point where I did a degree. My university degree is forensic chemistry, so it's forensic science in applied chemistry, and part of that involved like the process of taking notes at a crime scene and doing an investigation, all that sort of stuff, and the process by which you do that. And there was one of the things that they would list as, if the room smells like something, you should write that in your notes, because that will be the evidence of that smell's existence. When you get there, say, it smells like kerosene. This smells like petrol. This smells like blood. This
would
smells
you
like whatever.
Not notice a smell, or would you write weird smell?
I would go, like, everyone just nodded, like, yep, great. It smells like kerosene. Fine. And I went, and in my head, I was sitting there going, like, how do you know what things smell like? What are you talking about? How could I ever write down a smell? I don't know what anything smells like. What does petrol smell like? I know it smells like petrol. What does kerosene? It smells like kerosene. What does blood smell? What does this smell like? What does food? Like, I don't know what things smell like. What are you talking about? It was freaking me out at the time. I was like, I can't write down how a thing. And it was like in my head, I was like, I could never do this as a job anymore. I know I could never be a successful forensic investigator because I don't know what things smell like.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I don't know if this is an earned distrust in my own sense of smell, or whether I'll be like, no, I can write down what it smells like. But I am so distrustful of my capacity to smell
notice
things.
I am pretty acute with when something smells off, because I dislike a lot of smells.
90% of the conversations that we have in our life is Danny saying, do you smell that? And I go, what are you talking? I can't smell anything. No, what is that? Do you smell that? And then it's like, oh, 200 miles away, somebody's burning a leaf. And I was like, oh, I can smell that.
It's true.
But I think that's an answer to the question.
Yeah, that's fair. It's difficult to but have to think further.
Takeaway is we're great at everything. And if you've ever had trouble, you're bad. That's our
Makes
point.
sense to me. Oh, there is one other thing that we've discussed several times about physical escape rooms. Trial and error based puzzles versus puzzles where your first input is expected to be known.
Yeah.
Because you are more than happy to try things out and see what happens.
I want to learn the negative feedback.
I always expect that if I've been given the chance to have to like input an answer, it is expected to be the right answer. But
Yeah.
sometimes there are puzzles that aren't like that, where you are expected to put in something wrong and see what happens in order to get to the correct answer. That is a weakness of mine.
That will occasionally happen where you'll spend a long time being like, there's no way, there's no progress. And I'll say, well, have you tried pressing this and seeing what happens? You're like, why would I press it and see what happens? I don't know what
And
will
it's
happen.
not like-
I'm not going to press it.
It's not like I don't know these exist. I put those in my
Yeah.
room sometimes, but I definitely don't think about that in physical rooms.
And I think I do worse the opposite. When I know it's a room you've written, I won't play with stuff. 'Cause I'm like, well, Danny doesn't like that. And then you'll be like, why didn't you prod at this dog to see whether it would bark out a code at you? I was like, what are you talking about?
But then that's because in the rooms where I haven't planned for that to happen, if you try, I blank out. I don't know what to do.
All right, lovely. All right, so the next one is from D.
Mhm.
And it's back to a personal question.
Going very back and forth on those.
Basically just asking us what our pronouns are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, knowing that there's some discussion about it and not wanting to misgender us. Do
Yeah.
you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about gender politics?
Yeah, without going into it too deeply, you're unlikely to misgender me. It'll be fine. I have never cared especially what pronouns people use for me, largely because if you're talking about me with pronouns, I'm probably not there.
That's true.
I have always been much more noun squirmy. So if it comes to pronouns, use whatever you want, depending on what level of officialness of the forms are and how headachy it would be to have to explain it. If it's something easy, I'll put they down. If I feel like, oh no, this is some big official hospital record, what a pain this is going to be, I'll put she and female and all of that stuff, because I don't want it to be a thing, is essentially my policy of it. I want my thing to be, as much as possible, just person, human, all of that.
Yeah, and I think like in general, I'm probably in a similar thing. Like I don't like giving pronouns in places. I will often in places, we're often in spaces where people are like, oh, I'll give you a name, give you pronouns if you'd like, and I never do.
No, yeah, I've always been a little bit, I don't want to be forcibly outed in any particular way, and I don't want to lie, so I would rather say nothing.
Yeah. And there's also like, I think in my personal like thought about all this is it's like, that's not my job. That's not like figuring out my gender. That's not my job. That's your job, right? Like gender is a social construct. So society, can construct it for me. I would never.
You can try to judge by the signals that I am giving off and the level of happiness that I exude one
but that's
way or
up
the
to,
other.
but yeah, that's up to you. If you legitimately want to go up and use she for me, I'd be shocked that I fit your understanding of a woman. But then again, depends what you define it on. Every time there's an article about here's how women talk, I always go, oh, that's me. Hey, that's me.
Yeah.
But no, in my personal like thing is like I don't like giving them in any context. Even if I was going to give, like, I'll often, if I have to, if I really feel like people there are like, no, I would like you to make people, I'll give he, they. But mostly it's like, yeah, like I'm not going to sit and be like, oh, I better write down, like even saying, well, oh, I'll just say he, him to make it easy. I'll be like, well, I wouldn't do that. I don't want to say that.
No.
Because that
those
seems
sorts of
weird as well.
situations.
Like being actively choosing.
I feel
like,
weird. I feel like I'm not telling the truth if I.
yeah, it's like
to do
my
that.
thing is that I'm Bill, right? I'm me.
Exactly.
I'm a person with no. It's like I'm not going to go like, oh, I'm going to go do masculine things because I'm a man. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm just going to do the things I want to do because I want to do them. I can acknowledge that society has raised me to want certain things more than others, and I can either go against that to figure that out or whatever. But like, I would never do something masculine because it's masculine, and I would never do something feminine because it's feminine. I would just like to do the things that I like to do, and it's someone else can figure out what that means for me in terms of how they would like to box me into society. But I don't need to do that. That's not my job. Why am I going to jump into a box for you?
We get into so much just language and how much pronouns have wormed their way into essentialness of the English language. I'm not even talking about it in other languages. But there's just so much of it, and it's all a headache, and in the end it's going to come down to just, God, it's not hard to not be a jerk. Really. When it comes to anyone else, that's the policy.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
When it comes to me, whatever pronouns you want, I do get a bit squirmy if someone calls me woman or lady.
Danny is unlike
I
the
don't
first,
like the nouns.
unlike the first single Danny ever bought. Danny is not a girl or a woman. But yeah. So in no way does this apply to anybody else in the world.
No.
But you can't misgender me. Don't even worry about it. Just go with whatever you like.
Yep.
All right. Next question. Thank you for the question. All right, Danny. The next email, the next set of questions is an accountability set of questions. These are from O.
Okay.
Whatever happened to the published book idea and the connected guest game master builder room thing that you did on Patreon?
Look, to be fair, the word published is a pretty it's a pretty intense word for the thoughts going ahead with that. But that's very fair. Sorry, was there more?
Oh, and also any aim to bring those ideas back or something similar anytime soon?
I went deep into the idea. We had a Patreon stretch goal at one point that was I'll take like the first 10 rooms.
Yeah, we'll try and do I still like the idea of doing them as a book.
I do, and I went
connection.
deep into it and was putting stuff together and coming up with the plans for it. And it turned out to be a lot more difficult than I expected to come up with ways that it was appropriate. And the number of pages that a single room covered and the idea of trying to like put in professional good artwork for things and to make it look nice, it actually turned out that the book would be too large and probably like $300 for anyone to purchase. So I needed to take a step back and figure out how to practically make it work and be nice.
Because how many pages is
a
single room?
My notes at this, anywhere from 6 to 11 usually.
Okay.
And that is just straight up no effects Word document style.
So even just printing them out in order would still be like 100 something pages.
And then we wanted them to be nice, and making things nice and putting
require some brief. Like if we were
going
to do it,
images, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a massive avalanche of work and expense.
Yeah,
I'd
still love to get back to the idea of it, and I think there'd be a way to do it.
And then it just ends up being, okay, so for practicality reasons, it feels like you wouldn't be able to get more than, you'd have to massively cut down the number of rooms that would be in there. But then that doesn't feel like you're giving people very much.
No, you'd want to still do like a season a book.
I feel like I need to go into, exactly, like what if we want to release one of our 10 room arcs? It has to be 10. It has
to be a season a book.
So I feel like what I need to do is look a bit deeper into researching how game master manuals for tabletop games work. And those are pricey, but they have a good way of balancing things. But the other difficult part is how much of our rooms tend to require being able to have a lot of information in front of you at once. And sometimes for a book, I worry that having to flip through the pages, that sort of impracticality, it felt difficult.
We should go back to it. I like it as an idea. It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I would definitely like to. I just got overwhelmed quite quickly in the process.
And I think there's also like part of
but I think D&D style manuals are a good
because I think the other thing that always put me off was being like, oh, but we could completely change the format so it's playable as a book. Like, you can pick this book up and you can play through the rooms themselves rather than just use it as the
That's
source
a very
to run
different
it.
style
And then that
thing,
makes me
it?
then put off, like, no, that'd be a really big way to
new
overhaul
project.
it. But that's a whole different thing. But yeah, so that's where that ended up. The guest game master one, I am still disappointed we never fully finished that room. We basically built it with guest game masters the whole season, and then we never quite did that last little bit. Maybe we could go back to get that one
it feels like
finished.
the only last step is to sort of write it all down.
Exactly. It just requires a little bit of effort, and then it's like, what are we going to do with it? We're not going to run it.
For people who don't know,
give some context.
This was Patreon, yeah?
Yep.
So on our Patreon, we typically, when I've written a room, we will then on Patreon release the playtest audio. When we first had an entirely guest game mastered season, obviously, we didn't have playtests to offer, so instead we brought on all those game masters and we said, hey, let's collaboratively design a room. So just together right now, we'll just put together one piece of a room. And at the start we decided, an archaeology sort of theme would be good. So what do you think fits in an archaeology theme sort of room? What element would you like to do? And then everyone came up with a cool element, and we sort of tried to worm our way into splicing them together into a coherent
And we got like
location and
90%
setting.
of the way through to a fully
going
designed room.
Fantastic, yeah. And then the season ended, and I went, great, I don't have to do any more work.
Yeah, and we never quite turned it into an actual room.
If it became, if people want that as an actual set goal, what do we do with it? Like write it up and then just bring on new guests to play it and say, hey, thanks to
Yeah,
everyone.
thanks to
This
a couple
was not
years,
written by Danny. This was written by a lot of people.
years ago at this point. Maybe
Yeah.
we should at some point. It would be fun.
Is that if that's the general idea and people want that, happy to
Yeah,
look
I reckon we
into
should.
that. It almost feels like I'd be cheating more than having a guest game master come on. It feels like I'm cheating by using something about having a collaborative process like that feels like cheating to me. This is why I don't work well in groups, I guess. Huh.
It was a lot of fun to do. So I maybe we should.
Oh,
go back and-
definitely.
and
I think
finish
that's
off.
also part
The
of it. I
problem is
I got my fun out of it.
Yeah, the problem is that now it's going to require us to slowly listen to all of those
That's
episodes and
very
start
true.
taking notes.
Yes.
But that's still fun. All right. Thank you. Thank you for the question, O. All right. We now have 3 more questions from an F. Let's. I reckon some of these are fairly. No, whatever. There's 3 questions. Let's do them.
I don't want to
don't
call
want
any
it to go
questions a
quick.
quick question.
because we talk for a long time about everything.
Which means there's every chance that these are going to be the last questions of this episode. And then
There'll
we'll
be even
continue
more
next
later.
week.
Yeah, it's the long interview.
Yeah.
Question 1.
Hard hitting.
For both of us,
Yeah.
are we each individually?
Yeah.
Danny, are you a cat person or a dog person?
I've spent a lot of this weekend meeting new people and talking about exactly this. So I have always been a dog person.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have nothing against cats. I love some cats. They can be beautiful. I do not understand cats. I don't have that natural click with cats. And it means that, like, if I were to get a cat, maybe I would love it and it would love me. Maybe it would have no interest in me and that would break my heart and I wouldn't know what to do about it. I don't know how to, like, pick up a cat. I've held cats just fine. But if a cat is sitting on my lap and I need to get up, I don't know what to do. I just don't. Yeah, I don't have that.
I agree.
They can be absolutely lovely.
I think I'm in a very similar boat. I'm definitely a dog person, not because I prefer dogs, because I feel like I get dogs more.
Yeah.
If I see a dog, I'm like, I know what's going on with you.
Mhm.
Hey, how you going, man? Let's chat.
Yeah.
I know what's happening in your dog brain.
We have ended up with an Italian greyhound.
Who's the cattest of dogs?
The cat of dogs.
He sits on your lap all day. He purrs.
He does.
But yeah, I think with no like, oh, I don't like. Now, growing up, you had a dog.
I did.
I didn't have a dog or a cat growing up.
You had birds and lizards.
Yeah, I suppose, but I definitely wouldn't call myself a bird or a lizard person. My first pet was a big lizard. We had a blue tongue lizard.
I was a dog person before we got a dog. I was 7 when we got our dog, and I was a dog person long before that.
I always wanted a dog growing up. We never asked our parents for a cat growing up. We always asked for a dog. So I think even as a kid, I was a dog person. Presumably, I guess friends had dogs.
I definitely had friends with dogs.
But the very first pet we ever had as a family was a blue tongue lizard that we had, which I don't know if we bought that. I think we may have just picked it up one day and put it in a terrarium and been like, you're a lizard now. For people who don't, if you're not Australian, you don't know what a blue tongue lizard is. I'm assuming. Maybe you do.
Big fat skink.
Yeah,
Big fat skink.
Picture a lizard, and then picture the fattest lizard you've ever seen. But it's still little. It's probably, it's not that little. They're probably like
30 centimeters.
I was
foot?
gonna say it's like a foot long, like a 30-centimeter lizard.
Maybe shorter. I feel like we're exaggerating.
No, I think
that.
that's
They
pretty
might be
fair.
able to get that, but I don't.
That's
think
how
that-
big this one was.
Yeah.
They get big. They're skinks, technically. So if you know what a skink is, I don't know if skinks are very. I think everyone has skinks, right, of some type.
Ooh. Yeah, those aren't.
And
they're
they're
Australian.
so fat. They look like they can barely lift their stomach off the ground as they wander around. Like
Don't
you see
think
them in
they
the
do.
wild, and they're just like wah, wah. They look like
They're
when
sliders.
when you get those sausage dogs that get so fat they look like they can't, their legs barely touch the ground.
Yeah, that's what
That's
a
what
blue tongue
all blue tongue
is.
lizard looks like. And we had one, and I don't think it cared that we were there. We used to go off in the morning and pick snails off the mailbox, and then come in and give them and feed them to the lizard. We would also just feed it big strips of raw meat. It was a great little lizard. It bit my friend, and we left it in Canberra when we left. We wanted to bring it, and
But you had like big reptile enthusiasts.
we
friends,
lived right
didn't
next to
you?
people who were like they had entire rooms of their house that was 700 lizards in various displays.
When
They
I
loved
was
their lizards, and so we gave them the lizard.
When I was in year 1, my
hope.
friend really wanted. She had a dog, but she really wanted a horse. And so she told me this tip that she made up an imaginary horse because she was trying to the secret it into existence. She thought that
Yeah,
the more
sure,
she pictured having a house,
Manifest the horse.
And my response to that was, okay, I want a dog. I mean, I feel like you're underdoing this, Jessica. If I want a dog, I'm going to visualize 25 dogs. And so for a little while there, just if I was bored, if I was lazing off, if I was just, having my mind wander, suddenly, room full of imaginary dogs.
Perfect.
It worked.
And now you got a real dog.
Yeah, year 2, I got a dog. Now go know your way. Oh, you, hello. He's looking at me. He knows his pronouns.
Yeah.
If we talk about he or him,
our dog just goes, "Oh my god, what's happening to me? What's going on in my life? I'm being talked about." All right, that was the tiny quick question. Let's continue on. What college majors would you suggest to entrepreneurial escape room writers?
Writers specifically. That's interesting. So, everyone that we know in the escape room industry has come from a wildly different background. There is no
one's out there doing
universal connection.
Yeah. Even we have degrees. As I said earlier, mine is in forensic chemistry.
Yep,
yours is in biology. I was working in records management. You were working in a school lab.
Yeah, I studied Latin and linguistics beyond that because I friggin' love languages.
I did a little bit of archaeology and a little bit of engineering.
Typically, it will be okay, everything else aside, go for things that sound cool, because when you write an escape room, you want them to feel cool. And so you want to just have little pockets of knowledge that other people might not have that can make fun puzzles and fun settings and fun situations, just to add a little bit of authenticity to the cool stuff. Like, if you've got a background in Egyptology, it won't help you become a better writer, but
it's fun.
Your Egypt room will have just that little something that other people's Egypt rooms won't.
Like, I think my advice in general for college, for university degrees is the advice that I was given by my aunt before I went to university, which was don't do a specific degree as job training. Just get a degree in something that you think is interesting and good. Having that will be valuable. And because to me, the value of being at university and having been is like being in a place for higher education.
And there are things,
we're all
you don't
learning.
know all the things that exist.
Yeah, you don't know what exists yet when you start your degree. You don't know what careers exist when you start working.
I didn't know what linguistics was when I started uni. I didn't know what linguistics was when I chose it as a subject. Literally, it was open day and one of my friends had gone to the linguistics open section. I did not go to that section. And she came out of it and said, "Oh, that one was really cool." And I picked it as a subject.
Yeah.
And it was the greatest thing I ever did.
I think, I don't know, a huge part of the value of it is that it is a place for, what you've never experienced in your life up to that point, which is education as an adult.
Now, here's also the other thing, the big asterisk to this.
Sorry. We live in Australia.
Yeah.
It's not free, but it's incredibly affordable.
And it is.
And it's given a no-interest loan from the government.
Non-interest asterisk loan from the government.
Indexed to inflation or whatever. Or is there now a tiny bit of interest on it? They just introduced tiny,
a
1% thing.
Because inflation was going a bit crazy, they've been changing it up a little bit to make it a little bit more forgiving.
We're in a country where it's possible to go and not have to be as worried about it. If I was in America, I don't know what my advice would be. My advice might be, don't go to university, just find a different way to learn as an adult.
Can you do these sorts of things at community colleges? That feels like a place where you can get weird little fun skills and pockets of knowledge without the $1 million price tags.
There is absolutely huge importance to continuing education as an adult.
Yes.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be, if it's going to charge you $400,000, you don't need to do that through an organization that's going to charge you $400,000.
All of my tutoring students, some of them are going to uni, some of them aren't, and all I request of them is that they don't stop learning.
Yeah. Even now, even after you finish, I would consider, if I ever said to myself, "Oh, I guess I'm done educating, getting more education as an adult," that'd be crazy.
That's
I'm
horrifying.
I'm however many years out of university now. How many? Oh, don't answer.
Quite a few.
Don't answer how many years I'm out of university. Over a decade.
Yeah.
Over a decade.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
But you should still be don't know much. What was the thing I was recently wanting to? I want to get I don't know enough about architecture. I want to get a bunch of architecture books and find out more about that. But yeah, that's the importance. The biggest thing, the big recommendation that I would have for anyone who wants to get into, like puzzle design and escape room design and that sort of stuff, is to just start doing it. I think that's the biggest change, is not like whether or not you can do it, but it's whether or not you do it.
Very much so.
Right.
And this is a very good place to be, because this is general writing advice. People will say that.
Yeah.
And loads of people go on the internet and they ask what writing degree should they get.
Yeah,
and
and-
often people roll their eyes at that and say, no,
So no, just right.
people say just right. To an extent, I'm not so happy with them, because that makes it sound like it's just vomit on a page and something will happen.
Mm.
Escape room writing is good because, at least in the style that I do, they are, as long as a short story, they are under 10,000 words.
Mm.
That is achievable. That is finishable. Finding anything that can have an end point is going to be more valuable than any sort of study or education in those. That being said, if I just go, you want to do a medicine degree because you are interested in medicine, you could probably write a cool escape room. Doesn't even necessarily have to be about medicine, but that's just a perspective that not that many people have.
Now, the other element, though, if you want to actually be a physical escape room designer, is and a lot of them just sort of learn it as they go. But it's you can start learning about like
The lighting, the sound, the
Yeah.
engineering,
And
building.
To be honest, I think that would give you a huge edge is going to what I would call a TAFE. In America, they're technical colleges, trade schools.
That sort of thing, yeah. I
And
think
do that-
I put all of that under the
You know
community
what you
college
should
umbrella.
do
I'm probably
if you
wrong.
want to get into escape room physical building and you want to be good at it and you want to be
Work
cool.
backstage at your local theatre.
Go to go find a community theater group and work backstage and help them build their sets. So I loved
Done that
when
before.
we used to work, we used to be involved in a community theater place that made all their own sets, and they had like a big place where you just go out and they're like, if anyone wants to help us build the sets, come out and help. That was great. That sort
That's
of thing,
wonderful.
to know how to build these things. Not from I need to be a structural engineer. It's like, no, I just need to make something that looks good, that works, that
And
has
again, having
wiring.
done it once, like, this is my problem when I was saying all of these physical activities in escape rooms that make me assume that someone will be able to do it better. If you have created one thing, if you have built one thing, if you have done maintenance on one thing, that confidence will be there, and you now know that you are the sort of person who can do that. Meanwhile, I was the sort of person who I helped build a set of stairs that the actors needed to use for one of the shows, and for that I was just, oh, may God help you. I hope this thing doesn't collapse, and it didn't.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Hey, but it turns out, oh God, a person can just nail some things together and suddenly that's a thing people are allowed to walk on. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
But it's good skills to have, and it's good to know what you are capable of.
But yeah, so I suppose our advice
That's
in a
more
nutshell
important than any background.
is not very helpful at all. It's do whatever you want and then just do more stuff.
The happier you are, the better your stuff will be.
And if you want to get good with escape room, start making them. Get one that's finished, even if it's not very good, and then get people to play it and see how they feel, and you'll learn a lot from that.
Yeah, playtesting.
Playtesting helps.
Works.
We didn't do much of it. We got lucky. All right. And then the final part of this question, which maybe, as you're right, we're coming up to an hour of this episode, so maybe this can be the end of
The end of
this
this
episode.
one?
I think the entire season break will be this AMA.
It might
so
be.
welcome to the AMA,
Yeah,
everybody.
I don't want to skip any.
Can you give us any hints regarding the next season, such as room themes, special guests, etc.?
Yes and no.
Yes and no. Ideally, now I will say we haven't recorded this yet. This whole thing might not come about as quick as we want it to, and then we're going to have to scramble. The plan for this coming season is we have one escape room written by Danny at the start of the season.
That is in conjunction with National Science Week.
Yep,
So,
so it's
it has a science
You're using
theme.
you're using your degree
I am.
to write an escape room.
I actually
there
am.
you go. Look at
and
that.
let me tell you, it has not been easy.
So that'll be the plan.
So in a way, the podcast This Escape for that one may be like throwing away all of that and saying, don't, whatever degree you think you need, just don't, never use it for God's sake.
And then the rest, ideally, we've had guest game masters come on and run rooms for us, all these fun, beautiful standalone rooms that have all been great. And recently, a bunch of guest game masters got together.
You know who you are.
Some who've been on the show before, some who are new. They got together on our Discord and they said, why don't we just make 10 rooms together with a connected story and make it a full arc, a thing that's never been, like that you've done, but guest game masters have never done. And we said, that's crazy. Please don't do that. That's so much work for you. You don't have to commit to that kind of work. We're not going to pay you. What are you doing? And they went, nah. And ideally, if everything comes together as planned, that'll be the season.
Yeah, that
10
seems
rooms, we
like
don't know
it's
anything about them.
going ahead. Not a clue.
So we'll cross our fingers and we'll hope it all goes well. We've had good experiences so far.
Everyone's been just
They're all working
shockingly
together, so they're
amazing
checking
at
each
showcasing their
other's.
talent here.
They're checking each other's work. It's not like we're kind of like we'll see how it goes, and then we'll have a fun, crazy, connected arc like we often do. But we won't write it; we'll just play it. It'll be really
I
weird.
just want to say, I set aside a special thread on our Discord where I said, hey, here's where you guys can do all of your planning. I promise we won't read it,
And
so
we
we won't get
didn't.
spoiled. I have never been in that thread, and yet they did not trust us and formed their own little Discord community.
Abandoned it because they thought we were going to cheat.
As far
Look
as
at the kind of respect our fans
Now,
give us.
I will say, as far as I'm aware, because
Although
I
still, I
have
haven't
not
looked at
been
it.
in there.
They may have just said that.
Was that a lie?
Maybe
It
they
could have
lied to us.
been.
Maybe they said they went to a new Discord and they're still working in there. I once sent a message to that chat and I had to click on it and then cover up my screen so all I could see was the text thing so I could write out. No, I wrote it separately so I could just Control V it quickly
yeah.
and hit enter because I wanted to get an update from people, so I put a thing there.
Nice.
But that's the only time. All right. Well, I think with that, why don't we end this as part 1 of, I'm going to say 4 at least, of this AMA.
We can't answer a question quickly.
We'll try more, but I don't want to.
I don't
want
want to.
skimp anyone
No.
on their response.
Even the dumb questions are great questions. I'm
Even
enjoying it.
Every
I love it.
dumb question that we just read the answers to this episode. No, they're all great. Thank you, everybody, for the questions. The problem is, more questions will come in while we're answering these questions. It'll be a never-ending AMA.
Well, maybe some of them will have to wait a year, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
At some point, we'll have to stop.
We'll get to them.
We didn't even get to the ones that are on the Discord. These are all been through email. There's so many questions on the Discord, Danny. There's so many. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you all for, hanging out. This is the easy content between seasons. We're relaxing. We're waiting till the new season starts. Although we've just revealed to you the secret that we're going to be relaxing. We're going to be relaxing next season as well.
Well,
Danny is. I'm not. I've got the same amount of work.
You do, definitely. And we're not taking this time lightly.
No, there's a lot that we're working on anyway. All right. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you with more AMA, more questions next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.